The recent outcry from a British student has become a powerful symbol of a deepening crisis in the UK's educational system. They are forcing us to learn about Islam and Muhammad in school. I don't want to know, he narrates. I want to learn about my culture. I'm proud to be English. These words, echoing through social media, have struck a chord with thousands of concerned British parents and citizens, highlighting a disturbing trend in British schools. Take a listen. This is disgusting.
In schools, they're pressuring us to learn about Islam and learn about the people that are coming over. I don't want to learn about that. I want to learn about my culture, my beliefs, and I'm proud to be English.
Have they taught you about the Bill of Rights?
No.
Did you learn about the Battle of Agincourt?
No. In school, they were teaching us about, about Islam, about Prophet Muhammad, and all their ideologies. They barely covered Christianity at all.
Did they tell you about how he was a warlord who brutally murdered people?
No, they wouldn't say any of that. And when I tried to stand up and say that some of them things, I would get in trouble for it. Suspended from school because apparently I was being racist. I wasn't. I was just trying to,
You're questioning an ideology?
Yes, I was questioning the ideology, and in my opinion, it's not the right ideology. They're trying to take away my free speech in school. They're trying to silence me in school, to suspend me from school for, trying to stand up and discuss stuff about Islam, the wrongs of it. They only say, Islam's a peaceful religion, but if you look into their book, you find out it's not.
This student's brave testimony isn't an isolated incident. It represents a growing pattern where British children are increasingly exposed to intensive Islamic teachings at the expense of their own cultural heritage.
I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his servant and final messenger.
The situation has become so severe that some parents are questioning whether schools remain safe spaces for maintaining their children's cultural and religious identity. Make your opinion count by liking this video by promoting it for more awareness. Also share and subscribe to our channel for upcoming updates. Let's challenge the narrative together. You wouldn't see this in the mainstream media. These events are parallel with the shocking incident in the Netherlands, where a young Christian boy was approached and converted by an Islamic fanatic on the street, drawing a disturbing picture of a two-pronged assault on European Christian youth, both within educational institutions and on the streets.
Muhammad is the last and final.
It's the last and final.
Allah alone. I testify. Allah. I testify. Jesus, son of Mary.
These incidents represent a dangerous escalation from mere cultural exposure to active conversion attempts targeting vulnerable young minds. The British educational system, once revered for its emphasis on classical education and British values, has transformed into what many parents describe as an environment of cultural submission. Reports indicate that while students are required to study Islamic practices in detail, traditional British history and Christian values are increasingly marginalized or presented apologetically. In Birmingham, Bradford, and other major cities, parents report their children being subjected to what they describe as religious propaganda rather than balanced educational content. One parent recounted how their child was made to feel guilty for questioning aspects of Islamic teaching, while critical discussions about British cultural practices were actively encouraged. The transformation of curriculum content has been particularly stark in recent years. Traditional British literature, once a cornerstone of education, is increasingly relegated to optional status, while studies of other cultures are becoming tolerated. This shift extends beyond mere content selection to affect the very atmosphere of learning environments, where expressions of British pride are often met with disapproval or accusations of insensitivity. The situation mirrors the concerns raised about the Dutch incident, where vulnerable youth are being targeted both inside and outside educational institutions. The methods may differ, but the outcome remains the same: young Christians are pressured to abandon their cultural and religious heritage for Islam. What makes this crisis particularly acute is the systematic nature of the change. It's not just about religious education classes anymore. The influence extends to history lessons, where British colonial history is presented with a focus on shame rather than balanced analysis, and to literature classes, where traditional British works are increasingly sidelined in favour of more diverse texts. The testimony of another student from Manchester reveals how children who express pride in British heritage are often labelled as intolerant, while those who embrace other cultures are praised and rewarded. This creates a hostile environment for students who wish to maintain their British identity and Christian faith. Parents across the country report similar experiences, with their children coming home confused about their identity and questioning their cultural heritage. The psychological impact on young minds is particularly concerning, as students struggle to reconcile their family values with the messaging they receive at school. The pattern of cultural erosion within schools parallels the aggressive street recruitment tactics seen in the Dutch case. Both represent a direct challenge to European Christian values and demonstrate how a welcoming approach to multiculturalism has been met with what many see as cultural aggression. Parents report their children coming home confused and ashamed of their British identity. Some students have started hiding their Christian crosses to avoid standing out, while others report feeling pressured to participate in Islamic religious practices to prove their tolerance. This mirrors the vulnerability exhibited in the Dutch incident, where a young boy was easily swayed due to a weakened sense of cultural identity. The government's tepid response to these concerns has only emboldened those who seek to fundamentally transform British society. While street conversion attempts like the Dutch incident are openly condemned, the more subtle but equally dangerous institutional conversion pressure within schools continues unchecked. Education experts warn that this generation of British youth might be the first to grow up with a fragmented sense of cultural identity. The combination of institutional pressure within schools and external conversion attempts creates a perfect storm that threatens the very fabric of British society. Recent surveys indicate a growing disconnect between young Britons and their cultural heritage, with many unable to identify key figures and events in British history. This knowledge gap, combined with the active promotion of other cultural narratives, creates a perfect environment for cultural displacement. The situation demands immediate action on multiple fronts. First, there must be a thorough review of religious education curricula to ensure a balanced representation of British Christian heritage. Second, stronger protections must be put in place to prevent subtle conversion practices within schools. Finally, there must be increased awareness and protection against street recruitment tactics targeting vulnerable youth. The parallel between classroom indoctrination and street conversion attempts highlights a crucial point: whether through institutional pressure or direct recruitment, the end result is the same: the erosion of British Christian identity among the youth. This two-pronged assault requires a coordinated response from both educational authorities and law enforcement. British parents are increasingly calling for a return to traditional British values in education. They argue that while understanding other cultures is important, it should not come at the cost of cultural suicide. The preservation of British identity and Christian heritage must take precedence in British schools. This crisis represents more than just an educational issue, it's a battle for the soul of Britain's next generation. The combination of institutional pressure within schools and external conversion attempts creates an unprecedented threat to British cultural continuity. The time for polite silence has passed. Britain must act decisively to protect its youth from both institutional and street-level conversion attempts. The future of British society and its Christian heritage depends on taking a firm stand now, before this generation's cultural identity is irreparably damaged. As one parent powerfully stated, "Enough is enough. Britain must reclaim its educational institutions and protect its youth from both subtle and overt conversion attempts." The alternative is the potential loss of British cultural identity within a single generation, a price too high to pay for misguided notions of cultural accommodation. Remember to like and subscribe for more analysis of important global issues, and share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think Britain should address these challenges? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.